Welcome everybody to another Shirley Park update. Going to be talking to you today about the mowing regime. Now, in particular, we need to address the long rough that you're all experiencing, and I'm sure losing balls in because it's that bad, and the condition of the fairways. So before I go into my usual explanation about this subject, I just want to hit you with the facts that you want to know, which is the time frame of when it will return to normal or at least better playing conditions. So straight to the point, we have been using the rough deck to cut fairways. I'll come back to that in a minute. The reason for this is it's been so long, but the good news and the facts that you want to know is that by this weekend most of the rough will be back down to rough height, and by this weekend the fairways will be back down to the correct height. So Saturday, weather depending, I don't think there's too much rain this week, weather depending, the golf course will be close to how it should look. There's a long way to go, there's a lot of detailing, there's a lot of tidy stuff, but at least the basics are there. So that's this weekend and this week. To give you a little bit of an explanation now about why that's happened, the grass on the fairways, due to all the rainfall that we had that winter, if you remember in my videos, we had a foot of rain by March, and that has caused everything to get really wet. Now we've had 2.5 weeks of dry weather, so we've been flat out with the mowers. The usual fairway mower, I'll come back to in a minute, just out of sight, uses cylinder blades to scissor the grass. Now if we had put that across the current height of fairways, the blades jam and it doesn't actually cut. If we raise the height, it still jams. So we've had to cut all the rough 2 weeks ago, as quickly as we can, cut all the rough. Then we had to adjust the rough deck height down to fairway height, and that takes 3 to 4 hours and 3 to 4 of my team to do it. So we lose pretty much half a day in playing with the height. Once we have the rough deck down to fairway height, last week and this week, we've been using that on the fairways to get them back down to a reasonable, controllable height. Now, the reason why we use the rough deck is the rough deck, like your lawnmowers at home, uses a rotary blade and it slashes the grass. This is just to get the height down, it's not a precision cut. The precision mower is just to your left. This is the usual fairway mower, using cylinder blades to chop the grass in a scissor-like action. Now, the good news about this is that's the first time that machine has been out this year, but it's taken your patience and the last 2.5, 3 weeks of hacking at the fairways, there's been loose grass, we've been blowing the loose grass, we're still doing that today, but finally the fairway mower is returning everything back to how it should look. That's the good news. Now, the rough has been the sacrifice. If you look down, this is the first rough. Now, we haven't been able to cut this because last year we waited 2 weeks and we put the rough deck out here and it got stuck. This is the reason why it's getting stuck. If my cameraman comes down, you can see the ground here is still wet and the ground is moving. So that has been the issue with the rough. If you look behind me, this is where the rough deck got stuck only a week ago from today. And that now needs repairing. So what we are going to do with this area is put 2 guys on it and trim it by hand. That's going to mean that we're not doing other things on the courses. Again, the bunkers will be sacrificed in terms of raking, and that is how I can spend staff up here to get this trimmed. It's probably going to take the best part of a whole day of 2 guys. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it means they're not raking bunkers, they're not mowing tees, they're not making things look tidy. But that's how we can get this done for you, and that is what's going to happen. Now, I can't promise that by this weekend there won't be loose grass around. The reason for that is that the rough has been sacrificed so that the fairways are back. By the weekend the rough will be cut. There probably will be some loose grass in the rough. There may be a little bit on the fairways while we're still getting it under control. The good news for you guys is England Golf, to help with this problem, have put in place pick and place on the fairways until the end of May. So you don't have to worry about loose grass. You won't lose balls on the fairway anymore because they're under control, but you do have pick and place, and the rough will be cut by this weekend. And bear with us, just a couple more mows, maybe 2 weeks of mowing, and we'll be right back into good conditions, not just reasonable, but good. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and tune in soon.